Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well today. I wanted to hop on here and maybe talk about something personal, talk about something that has been in my orbit a lot lately, and that is love, relationships, and self-worth. And I want to talk about this today because since I've started doing tarot readings quite frequently, the most common question I get asked is in regards to love. It's around love life, partnership, whether or not this person that they've been dating is going to come back to them, whether or not this person is the right person for them. And I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all, actually, because not that long ago I was spending a lot of time on YouTube watching tarot readings about whether or not someone is the right person for me. And I believe that that's just because love is an exciting thing, and sharing life with someone is a really beautiful thing. And if we don't have love, what is the purpose of this life? You know, love is the ultimate gift. Love is eternal, it's blissful, it's joyous, it's just magical, and the immensity of it can't even be articulated in language. But I wanted to talk about it because, again, it is something that we heavily focus on, and society's even had us programmed to focus on, but in unhealthy ways, and cultivate in unhealthy ways. So I guess I want to talk a little bit about my experiences so I can give you some reference of where I'm coming from and how I've gotten to where I am in my relationship with myself, because my relationship with myself hasn't always been like this. And some of you are aware of that because some of you have been tracking my journey for a little while now, or following me for a little while now. And then there are others of you that are newer to my journey and newer to knowing Mason. And those of you that are newer, you get to see the more evolved self. But if you had been following me maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years at max, I was having meltdowns on camera a lot. I was crying on Snapchat, I was crying on my Instagram stories, and I laugh with love, and I have no regrets about any of that, and I have no embarrassment about any of that. It actually did make me feel better at the time, but it happened a lot, and it happened because of the fact that I was so anxiously attached to the people in my life and the partners in my life. I had a very difficult time being alone. So difficult that I would spiral into depression whenever I was by myself. It was very dark for me. And then when I was by myself and I would spiral into depression, it was like I didn't want to go out and socialize because of that depression, which is really weird, because the whole reason I felt depressed was because of the fact that I had to be alone, and then I wanted to remain alone because I was depressed. Very vicious loop. But that kind of an anxious attachment landed me in a lot of relationships that I learned a lot from. I have no regrets about any of them, but I dated quite a bit, as you do, when you're going through life, when you're younger and you're figuring yourself out. And I remember one of the first thoughts that came to my mind, particularly when I came out as liking men. I thought, now I get to date. Now I get to experience the dating world. And that was like opening Pandora's box. It was the first thing I think the first app I downloaded was when I was 18, and I downloaded Tinder. And I remember how exciting it was swiping over on people's profiles and just messaging people, and like messaging people as somewhat of an authentic version of myself. I mean, I still didn't know who I was, but I had at least embraced the aspect of myself that recognized I was attracted to men, whereas I hadn't done that before. So there was some liberation there, but it wasn't total liberation. And during these times where I was talking to different men and flirting and, dating and fooling around, I was essentially learning more of who I was. So this whole process, which lasted from the ages of the end of 18 all the way until 22. 23 even, actually, up until my last relation. I'm 23 now, but I'll be 24 in a few weeks. Crazy! But yeah, I'll be 24 in a few weeks, but up until 23 of mid June this year, I spent a lot of time learning about myself through the many different relationships I went through, and not all of these were necessarily romantic. Like I said, some of them were just flings, some of them were just shameless conversations on the internet, exchanging stuff that didn't necessarily need to be exchanged, but was anyway. And again, no regrets, because I learned so much about it, but there was a lot of pain that came from it as well. There was a lot of shame during that time. I mean, there's no shame now around it, but during those experiences, there was a lot of shame that I felt. And it was particularly frustrating because it just felt like every time I would be talking to someone new, they weren't what I wanted. I wasn't getting the sense of completion that I was looking for. I was constantly looking to feel complete in a relationship, and I was never getting that. And I always kind of pointed it at the other person. It was like, well, you're clearly not the one, because I don't feel whole when I'm with you. So, adios. Or they kicked me to the curb. I wasn't always the one to give the boot. Sometimes I got the boot too, and that was a little worse. But it is what it is. But essentially, I wanted to talk about how I arrived at worthiness. Because I think we're all arriving there. And we're all doing it through the experiences that we have in life, and we can hasten that journey by recognizing situations for what they are when they arrive. And I'm going to try to offer some tips with that. But just know that even if you don't apply these tips to your life, you're already arriving there, and you're already growing into someone that's learning more about themselves, of what they want and what they don't want, of who they are and who they are not. And that's exactly what all of my strife taught me. That's why I would never go back and change anything that I had been through, because without all of that, I wouldn't be half the person I am today. I wouldn't be resilient. I wouldn't be empathetic. I wouldn't be wise, So no regrets or regrets. But I think what built my sense of worthiness was every time a relationship ended for me, particularly when they were ones that were a little bit longer lasting, ones where there was a connection there and there was investment there, they were pretty heart-shattering. And after the last relationship that I had, that I felt was the most serious for me, just because it had more of that friendship basis to it, it was the last straw that shattered the anxious world I had been living in. I was like, well, now what? Not now what, but now... But yeah, now what? I'm not dead. If I could get past this person leaving me, when there was that strong of an attachment to it, even a little bit of an anxious attachment to it, then I know I can survive anything. I've been through hell and back, and that's such a cliche, but it is so true. And after that, it was the first time in my life where I felt a sense of sovereignty, where I felt like, okay, now I'm ready to date myself. Now I am ready to treat myself like the boss-ass bomb human being I am. And it's been a beautiful journey so far, and it's been only a few months, and I I can describe the feeling to, like, it's like freedom. It's like stepping outside in the sunlight with a nice breeze kissing your skin, and the feeling of expansiveness all around you, no care in the world. That's what it feels similar to. You know, it's like infinite possibility. It's the infinite wonder and the excitement of knowing that I can go anywhere, I can do anything, and I can do all of those things, not for someone else, but for myself. And I haven't felt that since I was a little boy and I didn't understand the concept of loving someone else, or at least not in a romantic kind of way. I understood what love was because love was so much purer back then, but I wasn't looking at people in that romantic or intimate kind of way, you know? So I guess some tips for getting to that place of worthiness, because a lot of the questions, like I said, that I get asked are about whether or not this is the right person for you, whether or not this is your soulmate or your twin flame, or, you know, whether or not they're going to come back to you. They're all the wrong questions to be asking. And I say that from personal experience because I've asked every single one of those questions before. I asked them until I was blue in the face, until I was, you know, left with nothing but more questions. Because even when you get the answers, or you think you get the answers, you still got more questions. Because then it turns into how long are they going to stay with me? It turns into, are they cheating on me? It turns into, what's going on between us? There's like always another question. So it's never just, is this the right person for me? Because then you get the answer to that, and let's say it is a yes, well then there's conflict that arises and you're asking the same damn question again, you know? So we're asking the wrong questions. And the questions I think that are important to ask ourselves is like, why do I feel so anxious or so desperate to know the outcome of this relationship? Is it because I believe I'm going to die if they leave me? Is it because I believe that my world is going to end if this ends? The answer to that is probably yes. I feel as though when certain relationships have ended in my life, a part of me did die, but a part of me that needed to die. And it was painful. It sucked. But when that part of me died, I came out of it so much stronger. I came out of it more evolved, wiser, and more aware of what I was going to accept and what I wasn't, what I was going to tolerate and what I wouldn't tolerate. And that is why death and rebirth are such a constant process of this life. It's constantly happening. It's not just with the physical form. So when we talk about death, we're not talking about just being laid in the ground after you take your last breath. We're talking about the constant cycles that strip away something from us that we thought we couldn't live without, but turns out we actually can live without. But the aspect of us that was attached to the belief that we couldn't live without it does die with that belief. And that's what makes us stronger. That's what makes us more resilient and more whole. And that's why it's so good to go through the fire sometimes and allow yourself to get burned, because then you know, I'm not gonna fucking, excuse my language, sorry, I'm not gonna walk through that fire and get burned again. So first tip, I guess, would just to be ask yourself different questions. You know, reframe the questions that you have. My second tip would be to recognize, like get clear on what you want, because I didn't do this until after I was single this last time. And then I was like, okay, I've never really written out a thorough list of what it is I expect from someone, and I'm going to do that because I know exactly what I don't want now, and I know what I'm not going to settle for. But when we don't get clear on that list, there's a lot of gray area, and by writing out the list, we can present it to potential partners. We can present it to the person that we might be dating. And if we lay it out right away, then they know what we're about, and they can like throw their hands up if that is not what they're about. But if we leave it up for interpretation, if we don't tell them right off the bat what it is we want, guess what? They're going to do what they want. And if that isn't what you want, you have no one to blame but yourself. This is why it's important to get clear on what you want right off the bat. And it's a lesson that that might have been nice to apply to my life earlier when I was dating. But you live and you learn, and like I said, I wouldn't go back and change it. But now I've got the wisdom, and going forward, when I decide that I do want to date again, I know what it is I want, and I have the confidence and the boldness to say right off the bat, this is my list, and I'm going to read it off to you, and if you don't feel like you can fit this, then let's just get the tab and call it a good day. It was nice meeting you. But I don't need my time wasted, and you don't need your time wasted. It's about saving both of us, time. It's not just about me. It's about this potential partner too, because maybe I'm not what he's looking for, and if I can get clear about what I'm looking for, that tells him right off the bat, you're too crazy for me. And it's like, okay, well, someone out there is able to handle my crazy. You know what I mean? So get clear about what you want. I recommend writing it down. Write a list, and that helps you get clarity. And here's the thing, the next tip that coincides with this tip. When you write a list, getting clear of what you want, you need to make sure that you match that list yourself, because you cannot expect someone else to give you what you do not already bring to the table. And I had to learn that the hard way. So the nice thing about the list that I have right now is that I can look at it every day, and I can ask myself if I'm meeting all of this criteria. There are still like one or two things that I don't check off yet. So therefore I can't really magnetize that dream partner, because how can you expect someone of that caliber to come to someone of this caliber? It doesn't make sense. Like, why would someone that's this great want someone that, it's not necessarily that I'm not great, it's just that I don't have my shit together as much as I expect them to, and that just doesn't make any sense. So that's why it's so great to have a list and get clear on the list and make sure that you are a mirror of that list, and then you can call in that partner. Tip number 4, I guess, is to, it's just on the tip of my tongue. Tip number 4 is to, this is a self-worth. So every time we settle, so let's say you do the list and, partners start coming, or guys start coming to your door, or women, whoever you are watching this, let's say a potential partner comes to the picture and they check off just about everything on your list, but maybe one or two things, and you decide to go for it anyway. Well, guess what? You're communicating vibrationally to the universe. You're communicating low self-worth. You're communicating, I don't believe I can have every single thing on this list, therefore I'm going to settle. And if you settle there, you settle everywhere in life. So settling is an important thing not to do. You just know that whatever you want, whatever you desire, you can have. Be very specific about it, and don't be specific in such a superficial way. Like, be clear about the things that are going to make you happy in the long term, because I'm telling you right now, if all of your qualities that you've written down are just about appearances, one day we get old, those appearances don't look as great as they did 10, 20 years ago, and suddenly you're like, well, now that you're not as externally beautiful, I recognize that your personality is crap, you don't have a great sense of humor, and we just don't jive, So don't waste your time by focusing on things that don't matter in the long term. If you're looking for a long-term partner, get clear about the things that are going to make you want to stick around long term, not the things that are going to make you happy in bed for, the first few years. Yeah. Let's see. Do I have any more tips? Tip number 5. We'll close it off 5 tips. There are so many different tips you can get out there, but I don't want to overwhelm you, and I also don't want to make this video too extensive. If you have any other questions, you can always talk to me. But tip number 5, I would say, is understanding that putting yourself first, filling up your cup first, is the most important thing to do in this lifetime. It's the most essential thing, and it's taken me so long to understand that. It's like I said, it's taken me going through hell and back to understand this. It's taken me putting myself in the line, getting my heart broken. It's taken me putting my dreams aside. It's taken me going through really bad depression, medication, alcohol abuse, drug abuse. It's taken a lot, it's taken a lot for me to understand that how I treat myself is the most important thing. And if I don't treat myself super well, how can I really expect someone else to treat me super well? It doesn't mean you can't call in a partner before you've got that all figured out. You can. And you can call in someone that can grow with you. But it doesn't always happen that way. And for those of you that it may not be happening in that way for right now, like myself, that's okay. This is like, think of it as an opportunity to really get to know yourself, date yourself, love yourself, get intimate with yourself in so many different ways, and you're going to be amazed at just how much you surprised yourself. You're going to be just so in love with all of the quirks and the uniqueness that makes up you. And the beautiful thing is that every day you'll surprise yourself. It's not one day you're just going to know everything about yourself. You're going to always be learning about yourself. So there's never any room for boredom there. And if you're feeling bored, it's just because you haven't fully explored your potential yet. So take this opportunity. If you're single, if you've lost a partner recently, if someone's walked away from you, don't chase after them. Don't beg for them to come back. Take this time now to do what you haven't been doing. Get to know yourself. Love yourself. What are your dreams? Get clear about those dreams. Make those dreams happen. And as you're doing that, as you're loving life and loving yourself, and when you love yourself, you just love life. As you're doing that, that magical dream person will come to you while in the process of it all, and it'll just seem like a fairy tale. And I speak from this, not from yet having experienced it, but from feeling it deep within my soul. And when I do experience it, you better believe I will be on here to talk about it with you, and maybe update these tips, okay? But that's what I really wanted to talk about today. I hope it resonated with you guys. If you have any other questions, let me know. I want to start getting a little bit more vulnerable about some of the stories of my past. I want you guys to be able to connect to me, because I know on my Instagram, for instance, I have a lot of text posts, and those aren't always relatable because it's just showing a perspective of where I'm at now, as opposed to the whole picture of where I've come from to get to where I'm at now. So I want to be as vulnerable as possible in these videos, so that you guys understand that I'm human. I'm still going through this journey. I'm still learning as I go, and I don't have it all figured out. But as I'm figuring some of it out, I want to share as much of it as possible with all of you, so that you guys can have the best life that you could have ever imagined, because you all deserve that. You all deserve it. I love you so much. Thank you for listening to me today. Take care, have a good one, and I will talk to you all very, very soon. Bye.